Okay, so Be'ezras Hashem, we're continuing with our weekly series of Shirim on the Zohar HaKadosh, where we're drawing down the light of Moshe Rabbeinu into the vessels of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, taking the illumination of the Yichud Ilah, where all things are unified and simple, and drawing it down through the vessels of complication and limitation, so that we can now create garments of limitation that reveal the lights of infinitude with new power and new strength. The light of the Zohar is the light of the Levush. The Zohar, the light of splendor, the illumination, the brilliance that comes from within, is the Zahiru Ilah. It's the refinement of the body when it is properly illuminated in the secret of the Katnas Or with an Aleph, where the begadim that Adam Arishon and Chava were engarbed with prior to being kicked out of Gan Eden, as this week's Zohar Kadosh says, were in truth garments of light. A guf that was mazhir, ke'or ha'rikia, that there was a shine from all concealment. That concealment itself, the levush, the thing that was covering over the inside, was still illuminative. It was shining. It wasn't a concealment. Measure was not yet a concealment in this place. In the place of Gan Eden, in the place prior to the Chet of Adam Arishon, in that place of the Chibur between Moshe and Rashbi, Rashbi as the Levush of Moshe Rabbeinu, he's not Master Moshe, but rather Levush reveals something with even more intensity. Just like the Levushe Or that Adam and Chava wore in Gan Eden, this was an additional engarbment that allowed the light of Adam Arishon and Chava to be revealed. The garment did not conceal. The levush was something that was there to shine the light that was being covered over with even more intensity. But as a result of the Chet of Adam Arishon and being kicked out of Gan Eden, so we lost the guf of the Zehir Ilah, we lost that Chashmal Ha'elyon, we lost that illuminated, shining body that enabled the light of spirituality and the neshama to be refracted with more intensity and not concealed. As a result of being kicked out, the Katnas Or with an Aleph transitioned into a Katnas Or with an Ayin, and the clothing began to conceal. They began to congeal the light on the inside rather than reveal it with more intensity. And then there becomes a separation between the light and the garment. Originally, on the world of Atzilus, in the place of Gan Eden, the light and the garment are unified. The light is that which needs to be revealed. The garment is the concealment that enables that revelation to take shape. Because without the concealment, there can be no revelation. The secret of Halbasha, the secret of a levush, is that it is an engarment that reveals that which it is coming to cover over. So it is a hiding that shines rather than a hiding that conceals. That is what we mean when we say that the lights in the vessels are unified together, that the vessels serve to reveal the light, the levush serves to reveal that which is being covered over. But as a result of the departure from Gan Eden and the descent from Olam HaAtzilus into the worlds of separation, so there's now going to be a separation between the levush and the or that's inside of it. And the orus and the kalim are no longer going to be unified. It's going to be the place of concealment and shviras HaKelim. In this place, the shining garment of Katnas Or with an Aleph transitions into a concealing garment, a thickened garment with or with an ayin, which is the body as we understand it, the concealment and the containment of the body in this worldliness and all of the things that seem to block the light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu from being revealed. The entire process of Brias HaOlam and Adam Arishon is to have that guf HaChashmal, to have that light of the body that shines, the light of the soul, complete translucency, where all limitation is shown to simply be revelatory of unity. And then we descend down into the pollution of this worldly experience where we no longer have the katnas or with an aleph, that illuminated body that shines translucently speaking. Now there's concealment. Now there's guf hachashuch. Now there's darkness. Now that Zohar is concealed, the levush seems to be covered over. And in that place, it's our job to fight through all of the concealment and to transform that ayin, that concealment, into a place of revelation. To transform the begadim, the concealment, the thickening of vessels when they no longer shine the light that is internal to them, but rather they seem to conceal it. The levush gets transformed into a beged, a begida, a lie, inauthenticity. As the Kamarna Rebbe says, v'tilbosh beged, that the job of the tzaddik is to transform the beged, which is the begida, the lies that come about when the vessels are no longer revelatory of the light that they contain, but rather they thicken and they appear to conceal. which is the definition of a lie, that's a begida. The aleph is no longer present, and it's just beis gimel dalid, because the vessels seem to take on more force than the light. And the job of the tzaddik is to return the beged back into a levush, to refine the body back into its clarity and its translucency, so that that very fine but necessary boundary that separates the self and God will become something that illuminates godly light, and not something that, God forbid, separates us from godly light. And this is the avodah of the Zohar Kadosh b'derech klal. The Zohar Kadosh is the levush itself. The Zohar Kadosh is the body to Torah shebechsav. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is the guf to the neshama of Moshe Rabbeinu. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is Har Sinai, and Moshe Rabbeinu is what comes down onto Har Sinai. And at first glance, the Torah of Rashbi and the Torah of Bina and the Torah of the fires of the Zohar Kadosh and the status of the body and the walking and the not being malachim and the friendship and all of these processes of nighttime, etc., that populate the territory of the Zohar Kadosh, that make it a nocturnal book of nighttime. It appears to be secondary and external to the inner light of the Torah of Moshe Rabbeinu, the Or HaOros. But nevertheless, the job of the Zohar Kadosh is to teach us that the body itself is ultimately going to be the thing that reveals the neshama with greater strength. And that in truth, it's by being a human being that is forced to walk and not being a malach that has the ability to stand in one stead place. That's specifically going to be the light of illumination that comes about through the secret of Nasav and Nishma. That is specifically in the Olam HaMaisa, specifically down here in the Dir B'Tachtonim, in the levush of it all, in the names and the proper nouns of what it means to be a human being, in the mishkan of it all, in the limitation and the changing colors of it all. All of that concealment, all of those vessels that the Zohar Kadosh holds together, which seems to be concealing the light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when learned properly, are going to be revealed to have been illuminative of the light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and that they are vessels that shine. And that's the guf in the Zohar Kadosh. Ultimately, how being a human being is what's truly greater than being a malach. And that's when the begadim of the katnis or with an ayin get transformed into a katnis or with an aleph in the secret of Rabbi Meir. The secret of B'tarasel Rabbi Meir, it was kasuv katnis or with an aleph, because the tzaddikim have the ability of awakening that level already, that residual body from Gan Eden, where we can refine ourselves to such a degree that the body no longer separates so much from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but it becomes the very place in which HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to be revealed. And this is the secret of the Mishkan. The secret of the Mishkan is that it is meant to be a tzimtzum that reveals. The first instantiation of tzimtzum, the first expression of vessels, is the Mishkan. It's that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is mitzamsim himself ben badeh ha'aron, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu contracts his infinite light and reveals it in a manageable way within the levushim of the Mishkan, within all of the garments and the masachim and the pargodim and all of the different colors and the kelim, kelim shonim, and all of the medida and the shiurim and the measurements and all of these finite details upon details. This is the levush, this is the externalization, this is the levana, this is malchus, that is meant to reveal the innermost light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to shine the light of chachma in a newfound way. And it's our job to perpetually ensure that the kelim do not thicken, but rather they remain refined, zichuch achar zichuch, birur achar birur, sur meirav aseh tov. By refining the self ever so slightly, one brings upon themselves profound levels of taharas para and kedusha nifla'a. As a result of being in the lowly generation we find ourselves in, every small ounce that we do is the preparation to develop ourselves to be kelim of the Beis HaMikdash mamish, to become the Urim v'Tumim mamish, to become the Big Day Kuhuna mamish, as long as we're refining that levush. Now, this levush is the Mishkan, this levush is Levana, this levush is Baruch Shem Kavod Malchus Lamvad. This levush is all of the differentiation of this world, and the Zohar HaKadosh in Parshas Pekudei has all of these sugyos. It starts off with Marav Tuvcha, Asher Tzafanta L'Reyecha, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created a world which is only there to reveal the hidden and concealed light that rests within the world, and that ultimately the fullest expression of anything in reality is just the concealed light that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has hidden away for the tzaddikim, the or zarul, the tzaddik, leishrei lev simcha, so that this world is a levush. The world has a profound light hidden within it, but there's a hidden light and there's a levush, and we have to ensure that the levush not hide the light, but rather reveal the hidden light. In the secret of Marav Tuvcha Sher Tzafanta L'Reyecha, the goodness that is hidden away in that concealment. And then the Zohar HaKadosh goes into the secret of Yichud Ilah and Yichud Tata, Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, Baruch Shem Kavod Malchus Lamvad, the unity between the Shemesh and the Levana, Shem Havaya and Eloikim, Shemesh U'Magen Hashem. This is exactly the source text that the Baal Tanya uses in Shar Yichud V'Amuna to teach us about the secret of Tzimtzum. That Shem Havaya is mislabish in the Shem Elohim, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu's infinite unity rests and reveals itself within the garments, the levush of Baruch Shem Kavod Malchus Olam Vad. And ultimately, the goal is to refine the levush to the degree that Hashem Hu Elohim, and that Elohim itself comes to reveal the light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that the Shemesh is going to be shining itself through the Levana, and the Levana is going to enable the Shemesh to shine itself with even more intensity. Again, the same dynamic of the Or and the Mishkan, the light and the vessels, the Baal Hashem and the Shem, the limitlessness and the limitation. This is the secret of where we come into the place of Medida, of counting. There's so much about counting Bnei Yisrael and the Pekudim, and each and every person representing what they want to give over, all of the particularized details. And suddenly we see that there's counting, there's measurement, there's differentiation, there's distinction, there's distortion. We're in the worlds of separation, and the Zohar HaKadosh screams over and over, but we can't count anything. Klal Yisrael can't be counted. No bracha falls upon something that's counted. In the world of Rashbi, in the world of vessels, in the world of the Levush, in the world of the Katnis Or, there's no blessing there. So how can we say that we're counting Knesset Yisrael? The Zohar comes upon the secret of Medida She'ena Medida, a shear that's not a shear, a numberless number, an uncountable thing that nevertheless continues to be counted. Each and every piece of Nishmas Yisrael in its countedness still represents something that is uncountable, something that cannot be measured. Like the whole of the Yam, like the sand, the granules of sand of the sea, which in spite of their apparent insignificance in their ownness, nevertheless, they hold back the raging sea from overtaking the entirety of existence. This is the secret of the infinite light that Nishmas Yisrael reveals specifically from within the limitation. That as the Kamarna teaches us that we are the Tzimtzum, that Yesh, Reish, Lam, and Aleph, that each and every nitzutz of the Chol Hayam, which is Nishmas Yisrael, becomes the levush that shines the light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu more and more. It's not a Tzimtzum that's mastir, but it's a Tzimtzum that's Magala. And it's the secret of the Butzina de Kardenusa, the Chachma Stima. The Zohar Kadosh in Parshas Pekudei brings up the notion of Butzina de Kardenusa numerous times. It's the Kav Hamida, the impossibility of infinitude revealing itself through the finite, and the finite is not going to be a separation from that infinite, but rather it's going to take on the shape of the infinite in spite of the fact that it remains finite in its expression, which is the secret of the Or and the Kli revealing themselves to be unified together. And this is the Torah of Moshe and the Torah of Rashbi, ensuring that the light of Moshe Rabbeinu is perpetually shining through the Kelim of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. To draw down the light of Moshe to Har Sinai, to draw Chachma into Bina, to be Magal, the light of Keser. And like we've been talking about in the Shirim that we've been giving, the place that this is most intensely revealed is by Malchus. I saw from Ramdu Valley yesterday, Schus Yogan Aleinu, that the Midah of Malchus is the only Midah that one has the ability to grab hold of the highest level and the lowest level at the very same point. And as we know already from what we saw in Perek Zayin from Shar Yichud from the Mittler Rebbe, that Ani v'ayin b'vasachas is the secret of Keser Malchus. So this shift of concealment and revelation of the essential unity of Yichud Ilah, of Shema Yisrael, of Moshe Rabbeinu, and the lower unity of Baruch Shem Kavod Malchus Olam Vad and Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, the Shemesh and the Levana, Havaya and Elokim, all of the disparate things that are in truth revelatory of a deeper unity than we can ever imagine. All of them, they find expression most potently in Malchus itself. The Mishkan is Malchus. Finishing Parsha Shemos, going into the Avodah, the Beis HaMikdash, going into the place of Korvanos, it's now the time of Malchus. The place where Moshe Rabbeinu is preparing to enter into Eretz Yisrael, to bring all of the hashpa'os from before into the place of Malchus. Malchus is going to be, and has always been, that point in which we encounter this secret of a limitation that reveals rather than a limitation that hides. And because we're dealing with the paradox of all paradoxes between the impossibility of something being two things at once, infinite and finite, ensuring that the guf reveals rather than hides, that the tzimtzum is maz here, it's magal malchus ein soif kavyachol. So then we have to come upon the paradox of what it means to be living in that place of malchus. And this is what we've been talking about in our Shirim on David Malka Mashiach. And we have here a profound source from the Zohar HaKadosh, which is going to bring together all of the introductions we were just touching upon. And it's going to show it specifically by way of David HaMelech. By way of David HaMelech. We're going to be on Daf Reish Lamed Beis. Reish Lamed Beis is the Shir Koma of HaKadosh Baruch Hu Shemos of Absagma and Ben. Zak Tehele Gezayar HaKadosh. Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Yitzchak, Rabbi Yehuda, Have Azle Ba'orcha. Rabbi Eliezer, son of Rashbi, the Shirish of Bina, Rabbi Yitzchak, the Gvuros that emerged from Bina, and Rabbi Yehuda Malchus, which is the final congealment of those Gvuros, of the Butzina de Kardenusa. They were all traveling along the path. Amar Rabbi Eliezer, Eden ihu lemehach b'shchinte begin de shchinte loy tishra alan elamigoy mile de araisa. It's mamish what we saw from the Ramchal yesterday. Rabbi Eliezer opens up his mouth and he says, you know what, Chevra? It's time that the Shechina should be here, because if it's me, Rabbi Yitzchak, and Rabbi Yehuda, that's Aleph Yud Yud, that represents Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. That's the Shin, so then Mamila, there has to be the Bas, there has to be Shabbos. If there's the three of us, there has to be the Shechina. Anytime that there's three gradations of Kedusha, there has to be a fourth. Aleph Yud Yud is Roshei Tevos Ve'ayeh Hayam, like we see at the end of Megillah Esther. Ayeh is Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Chesed, Gvur, Tiferes, and Hayam is Malchus. So anytime that there's going to be these three elements together, Eliezer, Rabbi Yitzchak, and Rabbi Yehuda, so Rabbi Eliezer says, okay, where's the Shechina? We need David Malka Mashiach to be here. There has to be a Shleimus of the Shem. But how are we going to get the Shechina here? It's only going to be through Limud HaTorah. And like we saw from the Heilige Ramchal, Limud HaTorah Lishma is Limud for the sake of the Shechina. And Memela, the only way to awaken the Shechina in its purity and to bring the Shechina down into our lives is by way of Eisek HaTorah. So Amar Rabbi Yehuda, Man de'ihu reisha, liftach bereisha. Rabbi Yehuda says, he who is the head of us, should open up and speak first. And then Pasach Rabbi Eliezer. So it's very interesting because Rabbi Yehuda in Shas is referred to as Rosh Hadaber B'chol Makom. We see this in the relationship with Rashbi, that in Lag BaOmer, Rabbi Yehuda was the one who opened up and started speaking about Rome, which led to the entire process of Rabbi Shimon's getting chased into the cave, which ultimately leads to the secret of the Gilui of the Zohar. It's only through the secret of Malchus that we ultimately come upon the secret of the Zohar HaKadosh. But nevertheless, we're seeing that Rabbi Yehuda is saying whoever is the head should speak first. And Rabbi Yehuda is not saying he's the head. Rabbi Yehuda is obviously the lowest expression of Malchus, which is rooted in what? Which is rooted in the Shoresh of Bina, which is Elazar. But Rabbi Yehuda is nevertheless still opening up. He's saying who wants to speak first. Nevertheless, he's the one speaking first by asking that very question. He's posach b'sheila. And so Malchus opens up the scene because that's what's going to be discussed right now. This interface between revelation and concealment, the highest and the lowest at once, to the degree that both are operating in the same frequency, and that Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad and Bashkem Elu are all saying the same thing. Am Rabbi Yehuda man de'ihu reisha liftach bereisha. Rabbi Yehuda Malchus says only the head can open up. Malchus is rooted in Reisha Loas Yad, and he understands that in order for Malchus to be awoken, it has to come from the place of Radla. Pasach Rabbi Eliezer ve'emar. Rabbi Eliezer got up and he said, David HaMelech says in Tehillim, Seir anoichi v'nibze, pekudecha lo shachachti. I am young, and I am despised and embarrassed, but nevertheless I have not let go of your pekudecha. I have not let go of your commandments. I have not disconnected from you. So it's a paradox in the pasuk. On the one hand, I'm low, I'm young. On the other hand, I have not let go for even a second. Zak tehel gezayar, tzir anoichi v'nibze. I am young and I am nibze. I'm ashamed. I'm pushed aside. David Malka lezimnin ihu kameshabich garmei dechsiv v'oisa chesed lemashicho leDavid ulezaro ad oilam v'chsiv Noam David ben Yishai Noam hagever hukam al Mashiach alekei Yaakov. There are times when David Malka Mashiach is meshabeach himself to a profound degree that do a chesed with David, your Mashiach, for all of the offspring of David, or David HaMelech, the one who upholds the secret of tshuva, of Mashiach. We know David HaMelech is Mishabeach himself. David HaMelech had the ability to say that he was strong, as we know from the teaching of Rabbi Nachman, that the chassid comes and says, how can I identify with David HaMelech's strength? David HaMelech praised himself. He understood that I have the right to make the bracha. Ani yavarich, li yavarich. Lezimnan Ovid Garme Miskina, but there are other times where David HaMelech looked at himself as a completely impoverished individual. Dichsiv ki ani ve'evyon ani, I'm impoverished and I'm destitute. Dichsiv tzeir anoichi v'nibzeh, that I'm young and I'm despised. V'ihu Amar, and David Malcha is the one who says, Evan Masa Habanim Hayatzer Lo Ishpina. And ultimately, we see the two edges of David's relationship with himself, the highs and the lows, coming together in a singular pasuk, which is Evan Masu Habanim Haisel Reish Pina. That it's this very despised stone, which is Seir and Nibzeh, that is ultimately going to be transformed to be the Reish Pina, in the secret of Malchus Agnuza Baradla, in the Kalim that reveal, in the Tzimtzum that shines. Ella bezimna da have salik bedarge de shlema. Ve'istalik bedina kshoit have shalit al soinai have kameshabech garme. Rather, David HaMelech was a human being, and he operated in two different polarities. That in the times that he ascended on high, and he was feeling good about himself, and he found himself righteous, and honest, and truthful with himself, and he had the capacity to overcome his enemies, inner and outer, he would praise himself. Ubezimna dechame garme ba'ako besonei kamedadchin lei kedein merech garme. But then, in other times when David Malka Mashiach found himself low and despised and spit out and struggling, he saw himself as lower than anybody in the world. My time, why? Begin daha lezimnin have shalit u lezimnin dahave beiku desoinai. The reason is because there were times that he was winning and there were times that he was losing. He was up and down at once. It was a mixed bag of concealment and revelation. But nevertheless, David Malka Mashiach rises above all of it. David Malka Mashiach, even though there appears to be moments of lowness and there appears to be concealment, nevertheless, the revelation of David Malka Mashiach is going to trump all things, and the Tzimtzum is going to be Meir. David Malka Tadir Ihu Have Shafil Garme Lagabe Kud Shabrichu. And in truth, David HaMelech was never prideful in the face of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He may have been proud of his accomplishments, but he was never prideful in the face of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He always had shiftless. Shiftless is not looking at myself and saying I'm dal va'ani. Shiftless is just recognizing that it's a nefesh shvala, that Hashem chooses who He reveals Himself through. Hashem reveals Himself through every ounce of our lives. It's not up to us how Hashem reveals Himself through our lives. And that in truth, it's our loneliness and our recognition of the fact that there but for the grace of God go I, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you shine your light through my consciousness and my emotions and my engagement on a day-to-day level, to the degree that each and every person is the Malchus through which HaKadosh Baruch Hu is revealing Himself. That Melech Shafel, that Shiflus HaNefesh, which is in truth rooted in the highest imaginable place of our understanding of how great HaKadosh Baruch Hu actually is, like David HaMelech was able to say, Ki ani adati, ani yodea daika, that only David HaMelech understood what he couldn't say. Only Shlomo HaMelech was the one who could come to understand that he didn't understand. The klal is that anybody who makes themselves small in the face of HaKadosh Baruch who is mevata themselves in the face of HaKadosh Baruch who lets go of the anochias and allows their ani to become a vehicle to reveal the ayin, then HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to raise them above. Even masu abanim haisel reish pina malchus agnuza baradla ubegin kach Isra'i be kutchabrichu beha alma uba alma da aseh. And it's for this reason that David HaMelech was mevatel himself b'tachlis habitul, and he emptied himself out because he knew that he had nothing to empty himself out of, and therefore he wasn't worried about emptying himself out because all he was a shtick revelation of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. For that reason, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is with him in this world and in the next world, in the revelation and in the concealment. Ba'al Madain, in this world, Pasuk says, Uganoisi al ha'ir hazois lahishia l'ma'eni l'man David avdi, that I go into this town in order to retrieve David HaMelech, in order to save the secret of David. And in the future, Ba'amad Asi, the Pasuk says, Ubikshu es Hashem Elekeichem as David Malcolm. You're going to search out HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and you're going to search for David. You're going to search for Moshe, and you're going to search for David. You're going to search for the Kotel, and you're going to search for Kever David, for the Makam of the Mikdash. V'pachtu al Hashem. The light of David Malchus Mashiach is going to be revealed. Malchus is going to show itself to have been the lowest, but it's going to have always been revealing. The levush Malchus, the kelim shonim, the garments of David Malchus Mashiach, all of the different expressions, all of them are going to be shown to be begadim mazhirim, levushe Shabbos, lechavur l'sefaras. David iu have malka b'hai alma v'David yehe malka lezimna da'asi. David was king then, and David will be king in the future. And the secret of Mahu Mashmo, that the machshava of Moshe Rabbeinu is going to be mislabish and it's going to be mitchaber with David Malka. Va'alda amar even masu habayim haisler pina. It's this very principle that we learn the secret of above and below at once. The concealment and the revelation are working together. Malchus in its lowest state in the place of Amunah is in truth what gives us access to the highest level of Ayin. Tachazi, come and see b'shaisa d'shimsha mahader anpei v'lenohir l'sihara is aver nuhure v'lo nihiras. Understand this well, that when the sun turns its face away from the moon, when the light of Havaya turns its face away, kavyachol, in a concealed way, in a hidden way from Shem Elokim, there seems to be a period, then the moon is darkened. The moon diminuates itself, it diminishes itself to a nakuda daka, to a tiny, irreducible drop that remains where there's nothing left that can be erased. All that remains is that which can't be erased. That nakuda of Yahadus. There's no light shining upon it. It's in a state of destitution. And it's darkened from all sides. And there's nothing left. Obviously, there's always something left. There's the Nakuda Katana, there's the Bas Ayin, there's the Evan Hashasiya, there's the Makam of Simsim itself, which, as we said, is the Nakuda of Keser of Malchus. It's the Malchus of Keser of Malchus, which is our Emunah and our ability to be Moser Nefesh for Emunah, to believe in HaKadosh Baruch Hu and to believe in our belief in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But when the sun returns to shine upon the moon, v'anhir lo, and the moon now is revealed to be part and parcel of the unity. Kedain isnahiris anpev it kashetet legabe kenukva it kashetet legabe duchra. At that point, the moon beautifies itself and it engarbs itself with kishutin, with new revelations, tesefes kishut, in front of the shemesh, like the kala preparing herself in front of the Baal. This is the secret. The Commander Rebbe says in numerous places that Adam was boishet lehistakel ba'anpoi de Chava. Adam Arishon couldn't look at the face of Chava because in its shirish Malchus is higher than high. Malchus is the highest light. It shines its light on the kishutin deloyhave. It reveals a beautification that cannot have been revealed if not by way of the livush, if not by way of bashkamalu, if not by way of concealment. That's the Tesefes Kishut. And at that point, Malchus is revealed. Malchuscha, Malchuscha Leilamim. David having Ater Garme, David would beautify himself. Tzadikim loichim bezroa. Tzadikim they have that gaiva de kedusha, they have the understanding that I am nothing, but in that nothingness I reveal the light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu and I become a merkava, like the Heilige Rishner who had golden shoes with no soles on the bottom, with torn feet. The secret of Aniva Ayin Bevasachas. Bahu Govna Mamish. This is exactly how David functioned. L'zimnin iu miskano, l'zimnin iu be'isra. Be'itira dekula. There were times where he was impoverished and there was times that he was the biggest usher in the world. And both of these are always happening at once. Esther and Hadassah. Begin kach amr tzir anoichi v'nibzeh. And that's why David HaMelech was the one, Rebbe Lezer says, that I'm young and I'm despised. But nevertheless, Pekudecha at the same point, I understand that I have not for 1 second deviated from what you want from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So too, a person has to understand the secret of Shiflus HaNefesh and the secret of David HaMelech, La'ash Lagarme Bekulei, to be mamlech each and every person upon ourselves, and to understand that halavai kepachos apchusim, that halavai should be like the lowest of the low of the Yidden, because that doesn't come from a place of lowliness, that every neshama has to understand the strength of every neshama. And in the face of understanding the strength of the other neshama, we have to come to realize that, oh my gosh, I'm absolutely nothing. The one thing that we can't understand is the strength of our own neshamas, and that's what friends are for. When a person learns to be like David HaMelech, that's when HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to reveal the strength. It's going to reveal the profound strength. And then the Zohar HaKadosh goes into the secret of B'tzinit Kadinusa, and again, teaching this notion of illumination that comes about by way of the levush, and the work of transforming the levush, not getting rid of the garment, but transforming the garment into a garment that shines. The guf tchias hamesim is the ikr tachlis. Why is tchias hamesim the ikr tachlis if the neshama is much higher than tchias hamesim? Tchias hamesim is the secret, says the tzaddikim, of drawing the neshama back down into the guf, because ultimately the guf is going to be revealed to be higher than the neshama. And the secret of Matat, who is also the body of Moshe Rabbeinu and also the teacher of Moshe Rabbeinu. The secret of Olam Hazeh and Galus, which is the body of Jewish experience, which is painful and difficult, but nevertheless it's going to be Samcheinu Kimoisani Sanu, that the Chedvasa, the Shmaisa, is going to come about specifically by way of the Guf, by way of the Yetzer Hara, by the Gufe Halacha, by drawing the Torah down Lamaisa, like we saw from the Ramchal. And in that place, it's Bilvavi Mishkan Evna, that we build a Mishkan for HaKadosh Baruch Hu in our hearts. And then the next avodah is learning how to bring a korban, learning how to be makriv ourselves all the way back up to the Or Ein Sof Shel Kodem Abriya, to create ourselves to be proper kelim, to understand that we still have not even left the tzimtzum ki'ilu lo yatsa, which is Roshei Tevos Kli, which is at the same point the recognition of Yesh Li Kol, I have everything even though I have nothing. It's also Roshei Tevos Lo Yodea Klum. All of these variations go into the formation of a kli that is not a kli, a measure that is not a measure, apophatic measures that reveal rather than conceal. And the secret of that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is mamsia atzma me'atzmo, he reveals himself from within himself, and that tzimtzum ultimately is a revelation of HaKadosh Baruch Hu that we have to come to understand rather than to run away from. And in that light, we uncover the big day Malchus, we uncover the David Malka Mashiach within each and every one of us, and then it's lo se voishi v'lo se cholmi matish teichu matahemi. At that point, we can build the Beis HaMikdash in our minds, reveal the impoverishment of the weak to become the crowning jewel of Shabbos, which enables us to enter into the Chakat Hapuchen Kadishin with the Chedvasha, the Shmais, and the intensity and the burning transformation of the Malach Ra, which is the concealment of the body, and forcing it to say Amen, which is Roshei Tevos Meir Malach Ra Yomer Amen. And Rabbi Meir is the one who has written in his Torah Katnus Or with an Aleph and not Katnus Or with an Ayin. And in that place, we have the Memtes Panim Tahor, Memtes Panim Tameh, and the secret of the Sharnun, the secret of the Emunah Kol Zos. And in that place, we can be mamtik all things in the secret of Emasai Ka'asimar. And all it is the belief that every encounter that I have in this world with levush, with externalization, it's not separate from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's here to reveal HaKadosh Baruch Hu more to me. And with that, we should be zeichet to shiflus amiti, which is not a shiflus that's false, anava, but rather a shiflus that comes from the true recognition of the greatness of every neshama in Klal Yisrael, of every ounce of every neshama in Klal Yisrael, and that we should be beholden to the face of the other, like David Malka Mashiach was, to understand that his job as Melech of Yisrael was to be Magdil, the kavod of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to reveal the strength of each and every Yid. And Be'ezras Hashem, we should be Zoichet to Nechama, to Menucha, to Emunah, to the Or Ki Tov, and to build a Mishkan, and to prepare ourselves to bring the Korbanos for Mashiach Tzidkenu, Be'ezras Hashem, to bring about Mashiach Tzidkenu, so that we can bring Korbanos to HaKadosh Baruch Hu.